informational part of our regional council meeting to order. Wish you all a good evening and thank you for dialing in. Just will remind you that for the state's purposes, if at all possible, your camera needs to be on. As painful as that might be for some of you to see my face, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to put up with it. The state says so. Beginning with correspondence outside of the enforcement notifications, which we will read during the official portion of the meeting. I have received no other correspondence that I am aware of. Moving on to officers' reports, I need to take care of one bit of business. Obviously, I have not run out of clean clothes and been resorted to wearing flight suits. So I am at work, and I don't see hardly anybody from the executive group. So I am going to ask Mickey Fornes, in the event that I have to leave, if I might appoint her as temporary chairperson to carry on the duties of the meeting in my absence.
Yes, okay.
We will trust that is not needed, but without planning, it will almost certainly happen. So, other than that, I would just like to take a brief moment of time, and if I could put on, I guess, my nurse hat for 1 second and ask that you would continue to recognize that all of us are struggling during this time, and that I know, especially from a volunteer standpoint, that it is very frustrating to stand at the entrance of the ER and wait for a bed assignment. And from the nurse side, I can tell you that it is equally as frustrating to see you standing there and realize that I don't have any place to put you. I know that there has been much correspondence back and forth about what delay means and what it doesn't mean, and what is proper, and that tempers sometimes get out of hand. But I would just encourage us to maintain kindness, understanding, and common decency as we work through this unusual and trying time. There, enough said. The vice chairperson, Jen, I don't see logged in unless she is the phone number at the bottom. Hearing none, we'll move on. Treasurer May is also at work and is currently on a call, so we will pass by that. Dorothy, secretary, anything to report?
No, I have nothing to report.
Very good. And Ed Frederickson has emailed and said that he'll be unable to join us this evening. So let's move on to committee reports. Anything to report from REMAC?
The meeting was pretty short. There wasn't anything of significant substance to report on. I have to apologize to the group. I left my notes from the REMAC meeting at the office today. So if maybe Alicia or Mickey can chime in. There was discussion on allowing some flexibility for folks in our region to not necessarily bypass a local hospital for a stroke patient that may be in the treatment window. There was discussion about the idea of taking them to a local facility for a drip and then shipped to a comprehensive stroke center. This would primarily affect areas in, I believe, Allegheny County and Chautauqua, as Olean General is still considered a stroke center. So that really was the major point of discussion. Don't recall anything other than that being of substance.
Todd, there was a presentation about a company that may be available in the future to give online med control to agencies. This is a future thing, and it was open for discussion. No decisions and nothing was done about it, but they did do their presentation. So we'll see what happens in the future.
Thank you, Mickey.
Thank you both. Any additional comments or questions regarding the REMAC meeting?
I have a question. They had a discussion on bypassing local or going to a local to get a drip. Did they resolve anything?
No, they have not. There was just discussion on that matter, and I think we're going to revisit it in the interim before the next meeting.
Thank you.
Very good. We'll move along to CMAC. Any report?
The CMAC and SEMSCO neither have met since our last meeting. There is a meeting of both on October 19th and 20th, and that is being done hybrid. So some people you can go to Albany, but I feel the majority will be attending virtually.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that update. That will bring us to the STEMS report, please.
I did send out my report beforehand, so if you would take a minute to take a look at that, that would be great. Some of the highlights, we've been talking about kind of for a while now, the EMTB Academy that we were able to receive a grant for. That has been completed, and we had 11 students complete, and 5 have tested so far, and all 5 have passed, so that's pretty exciting to get some new EMTs, and the rest are all planning their tests. We held a stroke education training, and since we held that training, it was kind of alluding to what Todd was speaking to. It was discovered that UPMC Chautauqua is no longer a stroke center, which is having some effect out in the Chautauqua County. We did hold, with the help of Carrie Parr and Dan Parr and Donna, with the UBMD Family Medicine Rural Residency Track, we held a COVID vaccine roundtable. It wasn't really a structured presentation. It was more of people could submit questions and have a conversation with the 6 doctors that were in attendance. So that was well attended, and we did record it. I put the link in my report, but if it doesn't work for some reason, feel free to reach out to me and I can get you that if you are interested or have some questions. EMSC is next week, and then CMAC and SEMSCO is the week after. EMSC will be fully virtual, where CMAC and SEMSCO are hybrid. We do not have the registration information for CMAC and SEMSCO yet. There's a couple pediatric courses coming up, a PARES course, an EPC course, and then a disaster response course. I put all of those in my report. And then the kind of final thing is we did end up canceling the STEMS conference that was supposed to be next weekend due to various reasons, and refunds are currently being issued to all participants. But we are working with Scott DeBoyer to still host like a virtual, probably like several sessions virtually with Scott DeBoyer. So we're looking forward to that. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you, Alicia. Any questions for Alicia and STEMS? All right, let's move on to the freshly bald Ed Major and the Department of Health report. That's you're looking sharp there, young man.
Your camera must be a little blurry tonight, but no, that's all good. Yeah. I can't thank, EMS crews enough, and certainly hospital staff related to the, significant uptick in demand, a significant downtick in staffing availability, bed availability, as we see, are significant. Places to take patients and to get crews back out on the streets is an extreme challenge at this point. Buffalo area, it's compounded by South Buffalo Mercy and the MAC, they're being on strike, so that compounds the issue in the region from a regional perspective. But I just want to say, thank you, be patient, check in on your crews, make sure that they're doing okay. It's a stressful time. Sometimes fuses get short, as Tom had said, and we want to maintain professionalism and do our best. And there is the survey that people can report extreme drop time issues. Those things are helpful. We are monitoring drop time data on a statewide basis, but those things sort of trigger, it comes right to the regional office, and certainly it goes out to our operations staff and statewide, so that we have some situational awareness to this. This is not unique to our region. It's certainly a statewide issue at this point, but hang in there, and also can't emphasize enough, utilizing PPE, whether you're a first responder or EMS transport agency. COVID is still real, and it's out there. So we're working, coordinating with the REMAC, and looking at some different options to potentially do load balancing and other opportunities with the system related to the strike, but also more long-term emergency type protocols that could be implemented as we see other surges or other emergencies from a regional perspective at this point. So the couple of things I want to say, Vital Signs is November 11th through 14th, Saratoga Springs. That's open. It's on the website. EMS Memorial was held in Albany last week. It was a very emotional time. Providers were added to the wall. It was certainly a well-tended and very professionally done to honor those who lost their lives in the line of duty. So difficult day, but it was an honor to be there. That's for sure. Couple things on the executive order. The previous items that were had expired on the previous executive order were somewhat carried over. We're fielding a bunch of questions. Hey, it says in there that we're going to get another 1-year extension. That's an option, but the Bureau is having basically no discussions. Classes are open, recertification programs are running, CME classes are running. So we don't feel that that's going to come to a reality. So people are saying, hey, I'm not going to take any classes, or I'm not going to do CME work. Please tell them that that is going to be probably 90 to 95% sure that there will not be another extension. It doesn't mean that it's ruled out. It's there just in case there needs to be, should COVID spike, would shut classes down and all those other components. So I just want to make sure, sort of get that message out. I think Ryan will, Director Greenberg will certainly be saying some things about that on the upcoming EMS agency leadership calls and what have you. But it was on the program agency call the other day. There was a brief conversation. They sort of danced around it, but the reality is that it's probably not going to happen. So please, don't quote me that there's guaranteed not to happen, because there's a small chance that it could, but we're probably 90, 95%, maybe 97% sure that it's not going to happen. The other component on the executive order, and certainly if you've got questions on the executive order, you can ask, but we have not implemented any new of the new components of the executive order. Hospital, EMS personnel working in hospitals and some other stuff. I'm sure you've all read it. Those things are, options and not clarified. The concern is okay, we're saying, okay, the EMS staff can work in hospitals, right, with the executive order, which was certainly wonderful, but we don't have enough resources, and with the scarcity of personnel to take care of the field EMS calls, that seems to be somewhat challenging. So I don't know where that's headed, but it's in there. It's an option, and that trigger has not been pulled, certainly. Just one of the other thing on the BLS providers vaccinating. If you had previously taken the training, you're still cleared to administer vaccines at pod sites under the direction of a physician that would have to be on site or advanced provider. On the EMTs and COVID testing, we're still waiting for an answer on that from Division of Legal Affairs as to whether EMTs can do nasal swabbing. Advanced EMTs, critical care paramedic certainly can do nasal swabbing. That didn't go away, but it's the BLS providers that they haven't clarified. So I hope that DLA will get back to us on that in a short time. Questions on it, but I think those are the highlights that I wanted to mention. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them, but again, I can't thank you guys enough.
Yeah, Ed, it's Mickey. I do have a question. Our core sponsorship should be up for renewal, well, this year, and we have not received any information. Do you know what's going on with that?
My understanding, according to Gene Taylor, was every sponsor that is due this year is going to be required to do a short form. So that, and I was under the impression that those renewals were either being electronically sent or emailed out this month. So I honestly don't, that's what I've heard, but if you haven't received it, I'll just send a note to Gene Taylor and see if there's any delay on that. Last I had heard, they're all due at the end of December. So it's a short time frame, but it is a short form. There's no need for a long form, but those packets, I believe, are going out in October if they have. Obviously, you didn't get it. So.
Ed and Mickey, I already have ours. We got ours over at UPMC.
Yeah, Mickey, Sticks got ours.
Yeah, we did not.
It's not like John McMillan sent it out to a large listserv. Donna received it. I can forward it to you. I don't know who on this. I could go through and look to see if anyone from OGH got it, but I have it right here, so I'll forward it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I think they may have gone out last week or so. I'm not, maybe a little bit earlier. I'm not sure. I know it's going to be in October sometime, but.
Yeah, last Wednesday it went out.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so, okay, thank you. I'll consider that resolved, and thank you, Alicia. Anything else?
Ed, Doug here. Good to see you. I am the victim of a chronic complainer, as probably everyone is, who was brought to my attention that there was an article in the Buffalo News about an EMT who filed his forms on time. The department was 6 days late reviewing it, and now he has to take the whole course over, and that the state is going to put a bottleneck in all EMT renewals. Is there any rational thing I can respond to this guy?
I think that the gentleman that you're discussing, first of all, whatever he told you is not necessarily accurate. The agency had previously had an episode where they failed to meet the deadlines and comply with the requirements in the CME program. So they were already on notice. I think they had received statements of deficiency or something to that effect. I don't know the exact details. I did talk to Gene Myers about it as his name was in the paper, but the individuals, and I will say this, typically we try our best to not negatively impact certified providers if the agency makes a type situation. And, we are also held to what's in the regulations, which means, that the policy states that the application has to be in 45 days. And Gene has sort of warned on the, I think it was a core sponsor call. And I think he also had discussions on the agency leadership's calls about the need to, people are kind of, got really lackadaisical as far as meeting those deadlines. This particular situation, again, was a repeat thing. They had been warned before, and the agency admitted that they failed to file the paperwork, timely and appropriately, and certainly not sufficiently. So the reality is that just like me, just like you, just like anybody else, if you are in a CME program and you fail to either meet the expectations that are outlined in the program, or your application becomes to us after your expiration, we have no choice but to force you to, you're no longer certified. So what happens is you have to either take a refresher, or you have to take you certainly take an original. But he was not forced to go back to an original program. He was forced to take a refresher, and that individual certainly could still, like in any other recertification program, challenge out if that was an option from the course sponsor. So I don't think, I think they made it quite dramatic, like it was, we're making this gentleman go back through original training and you had to go through the whole program. There's inaccuracies in that reporting, or gaps in that reporting, I would say. So I would say to agencies, get your paperwork in early, make sure that you send it certified. And also we're transitioning, and I don't know, Doug, the status. I know they rolled it out to some regions. Alicia, have you heard anything else on the portal? I think the submissions are
CME portal. Our region has been live since July 12th.
okay. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit lax on who was approved and who was not on that, but so they rolled out a portal so you have electronic submissions of your CME to sort of optimize that. We have not, they did a lot of testing on that and they worked a lot of those bugs out. So I think that, I think once agencies either, they become compliant and understand that portal, the submission process will be streamlined quite a bit versus mailing and all those other components. But, he is holding people to the line that says, hey, look, you got to get it in 45 days. You've got to get it in prior to expiration. And that's where we're at. So, somebody's on the thing saying that they've been delighted with the portal. So I think that'll make it much better for CME agencies.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's exactly as I thought it would. The answer would be. I just unfortunately had to ask the question. And speaking of the portal, I used the portal for our agency for an EMT, and things went through smooth and prompt.
Okay, awesome.
I had his card before I realized it.
I will say that was one of the things that they did, properly. They started off in a small, a couple regions to, get it acclimated and work all the bugs out. And there were several bugs to that. And it's good to hear that that was streamlined. And I don't know when they're rolling it out statewide or not. Some of those things are, like they happened and, either I missed the meeting or, whatever, just like everybody. But I think that's good to hear. So thank you very much.
Yeah, if anyone needs that information, when we did send that out, we didn't send it to all the captains because, like Cat County, most agencies, Bobby does their packets for them. So Bobby didn't want it going to all the captains because it would just confuse them. And then we also provided it to all of Allegheny County and then and the captains. And all the feedback we've been receiving thus far has been positive. But if anyone does have issues with the portal, specifically, they can reach out to me and I can help them. The big thing is that they don't want all the extra paperwork. They just want the forms that are required and they want your agency to be keeping the files on hand. So if anyone needs that information, I can provide it to you. But at this point, I think everyone that needed it has it. So.
Yeah, thank you.
And Alicia, the form that Ed referenced about if you wanted to report a delay of significance is one that has been sent out to captains as well?
Yeah, so once Ed asked us to send that out and we decided to distribute that to the captains list as well, just so that we wouldn't have every person, the 1,400 people on my list, submitting to this form. So if someone doesn't have that, I can get that to you. But yeah. I don't know if, Ed, you've gotten any responses. I haven't received a report or anything, but we did send it out the day you sent it to us. So
yeah, there's been a few, but they've mostly been in the Buffalo area. So and believe me, we've been kind of jammed up, and I may have missed a couple too. But the fact is that we try to at least review them quickly so that we can identify any quick trends that whether we got to. And we also realize that it's atypical for this region to have significant drop times. I mean, things are different now. So we also get the fact that, hey, you're not used to this. It's kind of, we're in sort of a bit of a new normal, and we all are going to have some adjustment to that. We don't, hopefully there's some light at the end of the tunnel at some point, with staffing and whatever thing. But we're kind of looking at that from the perspective of where are we today, where are we going to be, and how can we, sort of optimize things. So yeah, it's critical to do it, especially if they're erroneous. You know what I mean? So anyhow, thank you.
Bless you. Thank you, Ed. Any other questions for Ed?
Mr. Chairman, Scott Lanfear.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to give Ed and Mr. Desura a shout out. We in Allegheny County were at surge and flex capacity a few weeks back in the early evening hours, and both Ed and Steve were in constant communication, even finding some hospitals for us to transfer patients to well into the early hours of the morning. So the surge and flex is really working, and I just want to thank them for their dedication to helping us.
You guys did a remarkable job on that too. The coordination between the hospital, the CEO, the EMS community, and certainly the state and the other receiving facilities was, really it was admirable. So yeah, that was very good, and no problem at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Let's move on to our council committees reports, beginning with community relations. Don't believe Ed is here. Let's move on to education.
As Leisha's made known, we've had to cancel our conference. Hopefully we'll be working on some presentations for the pediatrics that were scheduled for the conference. Ed mentioned vital signs, and the Vital Signs Academy is still ongoing if people need to use any of that for the continuing ed. We're really kind of in a holding pattern until we can get everybody back online to do these things. So that's my report.
Thank you. EMS services.
Nothing to report at this time.
Well, that's a pleasure.
Mr. Chairman, do we have a status of the Allegheny County 1206s? That's continually being asked.
I was getting ready to send an email to Bonnie because she reached out to me a couple of weeks on it. I got updated on it today. It was sent back before I was the services chair. It was sent back over to, I believe, Jeff Lucky. So it's on you guys. It's in your guys' office right now. So if you guys can send that back to me, we can get that moving. That's what was passed on.
Okay. Yep, we'll look into that. Thanks, Brian.
I was actually in the process of just sending an email to Bonnie to let her know that that's where we are at with that.
Thank you, Brian. Legislative, anything to report?
The Office of Civil Rights has produced some guidance on HIPAA and COVID-19 vaccinations. Employers are not in violation of HIPAA if they ask their employees to demonstrate vaccination status. So that HIPAA argument has been kind of put to bed, and official guidance is out there.
Thank you for that update. Membership.
I think I'm going to wait till the new business so it's on record, but we got end of the year coming up and we've got an opening.
Very well, thank you. Let's move along to county reports, beginning with Allegheny County.
I believe I'm filling in for Bonnie. She was having difficulty, not able to talk. So, we currently have an EMT program going on, advanced EMT, looking at CME yet coming up here shortly. Other than that, like I said, as Scott said, we've been monitoring kind of closely any delays at Jones, and we're thankful for the notifications from Olean General about any delay going on. So we're just continuing to monitor the situation. End of report.
Thank you, Jeff. Cattaraugus County.
I don't think Chris and Bobby could make it today. I know they've got a couple of things that they're working on tonight. The biggest things they've been working on are getting ready for Fall Fest in Ellicottville this weekend. I'd invite you guys all over to visit, except you won't be able to get down the street to get to my house, so you'll never get to see me. Other than that, their biggest things have been they're working with the schools in the county to set up, ramp up some of the school testing. Some of the delays in that have been on the part of the government contractor or the grant funding and things, and getting the supplies and logistics in place. So they're working on that, and continuing to support the vaccine clinics and those types of COVID-related things, which we all know will never go away. Otherwise, I think those are the big items right now.
Thank you, Dr. Walters. Chautauqua County.
Well,
pretty much.
Dr. Walters, yeah, that's TV2 did a great clip this evening for your Fall Fest promo. So they're getting people to come to your house. I didn't hear your address, but they're heading them that way.
Like I said, it won't matter because you can't get down the street anyways. It doesn't matter.
You know, our council did meet last month, and fairly good meeting to all concerned. Dr. Walters can talk about what he and Dr. Falk talked about stroke centers again. I think it's interesting. As I've been listening to the airways, we're flying most of ours. If we're not grounding them to Buffalo or Erie, we're flying them. That seems to be the preference of county EMS and the providers. Noel said that there's 38 in his emergency services EMT class. That was a delightful surprise and very good. There was a water emergency in Dunkirk, and Brooks Hospital personnel thanked emergency service people who helped get them some temporary water in there. That was a pretty bad situation for a few days. And there was some conversation about, at the end, without any conclusion, about transporting people with mental health issues. But that's pretty much it for the county. You know, Brooks has been on diversion, and there for a couple of days. UPMC Chautauqua was, as you were saying there, Chairman, you know, one of our ambulances had to wait an hour to unload at UPMC Chautauqua. They're seeing that kind of load happening. So that's the kind of things that are happening. Excuse me, Dan, did I hear your voice? Do you want to add some things?
Well, again, we're watching, and actually Brooks was not on diversion. They were on delay. Nobody in our county's been on diversion at this point. We have had one or two that went like 3.5 hours, but that's been outside the norm. We're supporting the vaccination clinics. The health department has a drive-through clinic a couple days a week. That list is out on their website. We've been supporting the testing at our office on a regular basis. We have a health department nurse assigned to our office, and she's been doing quite a few tests, especially since the school started. I think that's about it.
I got one more thing is we updated our bylaws for the county EMS, and Dr. Walters and Dr. Falk are both now voting members of our council. But it was approved, and it went through legal at the county, got approved. And now I'm dealing with all the trickle down effects because this change here causes that change over there, which changes that name over there. It's fun. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Chautauqua County. Dr. Walters, you weren't on during the REMAC report, and Doug Conroe mentioned the stroke discussion. Is there anything you would like to add to that?
You're muted, Dr. Walters.
Thank you, Alicia. Sorry. I said I didn't hear the discussion. I was finishing up another Teams call and got on a little bit late, but essentially the discussion was, and what came out of the county council meeting was about stroke centers, about without having a stroke center in Chautauqua County right now for the present time, there are times when you will be transporting, driving more than an hour or transporting longer than an hour to get to a stroke center, and literally could have somebody go to a closer hospital and get thrombolytics, by the time they would even arrive at a stroke center, which, we discussed, and Dr. Falk and I, when this came up the REMAC, I think we all agree that really that's probably in the best interest of the patient is to get them that medication quickly. Also knowing the doctors, now that we have staffing the hospitals in the county, most of them are board certified ER doctors. A lot of them come from Hammett or St. Vincent's, or down from Buffalo in the case of Brooks. And also, somebody who works at Buffalo General one day is working at Brooks the next day, for example, or on that. So we feel confident with going for these strokes that are within the window for thrombolytics, going to one of the other hospitals. We just wanted to make sure that we're following the REMAC policy, and of course the state protocol and the collaborative protocol, which kind of gives some guidelines. So the discussion at the REMAC, and it seemed that there was good agreement for what we were saying and allowing that, and maybe updating the REMAC destination policy to allow for some of that in these instances. And then it was brought up that there's really nothing in the policy that doesn't allow us to do it in the meantime. So we can direct our crews to maybe go to a closer facility in those instances, when appropriate, of course. And that's, but I think the REMAC is going to update the policy to make it a little bit more clear for those allowances. Again, what we don't want to see is to see people saying, well, it's too far, I want to go to a closer hospital. I don't think that that's a valid argument, but I think if you're making the decision in the best interest of the patient for the right reasons and getting them time-sensitive treatment faster, I think that is appropriate. So we just have to be careful about why we are phrasing that. And I always say, saying that, we're busy, we need to get back to the town or city that we cover in case there's the mythical second call that may eventually happen 3 weeks from now, or if we're volunteers, whether we're volunteer or paid doesn't really, the medical standard of care doesn't change. So I think we just need to make sure we frame those discussions and rationale as to why we're doing this in the right way, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. Any questions for any of the three county representatives? Very well. Just before we go into the official meeting, I have had some conversations with a few folks along the last couple of months about, is there a role of the council in this whole hospital EMS interface and delays? And at this point, it seems to be well handled. There's recourse through the state to report any egregious acts or wrongs that you feel. It sounds like the hospitals in our region have been receptive to complaints. So at this point, I do not see a reason for the council to wade into that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but just to give some color on that topic, OAN General has reached out to my agency to ask for some reports that we can pull from EMS charts on wait times getting into the ER. We've introduced a question on our activity log, so we're tracking that. So anything over 1 hour wait time, we are tracking those calls, and we should be able to generate some data for the hospital to use to help them deal with this situation.
Thank you, Todd. So because these types of things are in place, I don't see a reason to add another layer to that. So I did not add it to the agenda for new business. Certainly, as a council member, if you feel otherwise, we can certainly have a discussion on that under new business. But I just wanted to let you know my thought process on that to this point. Having said that, let's move ahead into the official portion of the Southwestern Regional Council and call that to order. And we will ask Alicia to do a roll call of attendance for the purposes of establishing quorum. Alicia?
Kay Bushman.
I saw her hand raised.
Say
You raised
Jessica. Scott Lampier. I believe he's
Present.
Dan Marsh.
Here.
Terrence Parker.
Present.
Tom Sampson.
Present.
May Stottlemyre. Maggie Thompson. Bonnie Van Housen.
Jeff Lucky proxy.
Okay. Paul Weaver.
Here.
Thank you. Chris Baker. Dorothy Button.
I'm here.
Mickey Fornes.
Here.
Ed Fredrickson. Bobby Kuhn. Carrie Parr.
Here.
Todd Reisner.
Present.
Brad Petrozewski. Tim Richardson.
Here.
Dr. Walters.
I'm here.
Priscilla Baines. Donna Bryant.
Here.
Tim Carlson.
Here.
Thank you. Doug Conroe.
Here.
Jen Gutman. Dan Imfeld.
Here.
Bill Johnston.
Here.
Laura Logan.
here.
Kevin Peebles.
Here.
Brian Wilcox.
Here.
And then for guests, I have myself, Donna Kame, Ed Major. Is anyone else on that I did not call? You have a quorum.
Thank you, Alicia. As we move forward, again, let me request that if you would like to make a motion or a second, that you state your name first, so it's easier for the transcribing and for the minutes as we move ahead. Attached to the email, you should have received minutes from the previous meeting. We will entertain your desire on those.
Mickey Fornes moved to accept.
Bill Johnston, second.
Very well, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of accepting the minutes from the previous meeting, raise your hands, make a sign. All opposed, the same. And the minutes are accepted. We'll move to the treasurer's report. The report is that there has been no activity since the last meeting. At the time of the last meeting, Alfred's funds were returned to them. Paul Weaver, have you received those?
Yes, we have, and thank you.
Very well, you are welcome. So as stated, there is no activity on the treasurer's ledger. What is your pleasure?
Do you need a motion to accept? Todd Reisner makes a motion to accept the treasurer's report as stated.
Paul Weaver, second.
Brian Wilcox.
Very well, thank you. All those in favor signify. All those opposed, the same. Treasurer's report is accepted. Enforcement notifications, there are 7. So if you need to get a beverage or a snack or use the facilities, I'm not saying that you should do that now, but it might be an opportune moment. So here we go. First, we have Francesco Berardi from Staten Island, New York, date of birth 12/25/1993. Suspended for 1 year, effective 8/3/21. The suspension is stayed pending no further violations for a period of 3 years. Assessed a civil penalty of $2,000 for violations of Part 800.3 AP. Next is Yosef Ben Simon, Long Island City, New York, date of birth 9/24/1988. Suspended for 3 years, effective 8/5/21. The suspension is stayed. Placed on probation for 3 years, effective 8/5/21. Assessed a civil penalty of $2,000 for violations of Part 800.16A2 and 800.16A9. Next, we have Kevin Steger from Beacon, New York, date of birth 5/28/2000. His certification has been surrendered effective 8/24/21 for violations of 800.16A11. Next is Will Davis from Astoria, New York, date of birth 2/11/1996. He has been issued a reprimand on 9/2/21, placed on probation for 3 years, effective 9/2/21, and assessed a civil penalty of $2,000. Half is suspended pending no further violations. For violations of Part 800.3A0. Next is Thomas Warrington, Blue Mountain Lake, New York, date of birth 8/18/1950. Revoked effective 9/13/21. Assessed a civil penalty of $2,000. $1,000 is suspended pending compliance of payment for violations of Part 800.15A3 and 800.16A1. Next, we have Timothy Leach. Did we do him already? Okay. Also from Blue Mountain Lake, New York. Oh, no, we didn't. Date of birth 5/28/1954. Suspended for 3 years, effective 9/17/21. The suspension is stayed pending compliance with probation. Placed on probation for 3 years, effective 9/17/21. Assessed a civil penalty of $2,000. $1,500 is stayed pending compliance with stipulation and order. Violations of Part 800.16A2 and 9. And finally, Eric Geisler, date of birth, or from Scotia, New York, date of birth 10/11/1992. Suspended for 1 year, effective 9/16/21. The suspension is stayed pending no further violations for 3 years. Assessed a civil penalty of $2,000. Violations of Part 800.16A5. And that completes enforcement notifications. We'll move ahead to old business. I have received no further updates from the state regarding the Chautauqua County EMS appeal. I have kept the Muru app on there. Any questions, concerns, comments regarding that, its functionality, etc.?
Mr. Chairman, Paul Weaver.
Yes, sir.
I remain concerned about that Muru app, especially in the long term. Going to a commercial paid service that it's not clear where the funding source is going to come from, or that individual agencies won't be saddled with a cost to access something that's been freely available all this time. In addition, the structure of it is a huge step backwards from the continually improved current collaborative app. Where they've gone back to a straight alphabetical listing that is very painful to navigate to find the particular protocol you need in a time, especially in the critical ones. Having to page through an alphabetical list is just obtuse. We fixed this with a collaborative app. The collaborative app is working quite well. I'm really not sure why the drive to this privatized system. I don't see it gives benefits to anybody.
Thank you, Paul, for your insight. I'm sure that Ed Major was listening to that, and any other concerns, opinions with functionality or long-term cost that other agencies have experienced. Tim Richardson, not to put you on the spot, but I know that you had expressed some concern about the cost to your department with as many vehicles, and Todd, I know you as well. Have you given any more thought to how you might budget that out or make that work?
No, I agree with Paul. I said, if it's kind of broke, if it's not broke, don't fix it. If we can kind of stick with that, and if not, we'll figure something out.
I concur.
I guess I do not know the answer to this question. Is the collaborative protocols app being kept up to date with the latest revisions?
No.
I didn't think that was the case, but I wasn't sure. All right, well, we will continue to keep that on old business. And I'm sure that any updates that Ed hears, or any progress or any changes, that he'll contact, be in touch with us through STEMS. And like I say, we'll continue to monitor that situation.
I'll be sure, Tom, to send that up, that there were significant concerns brought up at the meeting.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate that. Vital signs reimbursement was a topic that I brought up briefly last month and under new business for us to think about how we might handle that this year. We had a brief discussion on it then, but with vital signs less, they're just about a month away or so, we should have some discussion and any movement or motion that we want on that.
Doug here, was Donna going to talk with the central office about that?
We had this is Alicia, we did submit the information and we're still waiting for approval on the vital signs reimbursement.
Thank you, Alicia, for that update.
This is Dan. I guess I would make a motion that we reimburse as per previous policies if we get the approval from central office.
Mickey, and I'll second that.
Very well, we have a motion to reimburse as per our past policy, as long as that is vetted and okayed by the central office. Is there any discussion on that before we vote?
The only question I would have is, should we incorporate a piece for the virtual?
As far as not reimbursing people for hotel rooms if they attend virtually?
No. Should we only reimburse the virtual
Oh, no.
registration fees?
I see. We only reimburse the virtual registration piece if people attend virtually.
Virtually,
Mhm.
yes.
Mhm.
I guess I would add that as an extension to my motion, if that's acceptable to Mickey, that we, in person, we reimburse as per our normal policies, and virtually we reimburse the virtual fees for those that attend virtually, if it's approved by central office.
Yeah, I will accept that.
Now,
Todd?
Todd Reisner, at the risk of sounding uninitiated, it may be wise to state what our historic policy is and attach that to the motion so it's in writing, so there's no ambiguity to what our historic policies have been.
That might be a wise decision if someone has those.
Alicia, do you have those policies?
I'm pulling them up. Give me 1 second.
And maybe just, if you find them, send them out to the group.
Okay.
And attach them in some way to the motion in the minutes.
I think we would just incorporate them into the minutes.
May we vote?
We can, I guess, if you're calling the question.
It's a virtual question.
And when which you can be reimbursed for. Yes, we will vote, and we'll make sure that previous policy is included in the official transcript of the meeting so that it is readily available.
I'm just trying. I'm trying to get my screen share to work, but it's not. I could read it if you would like.
Sure, give us the highlights.
So we have that reimbursement must be funding of last choice. Only conference registration fee and hotel fee is reimbursable. Hotel fee will be reimbursed in accordance with the U.S. General Services Administration per diem hotel rates found at, and then the link. Maximum amount per individual is $400 and will be dependent on the number of people who apply for reimbursement from each county. Original receipts must be submitted with reimbursement voucher. Receipt must be made out to individuals seeking reimbursement, not agency. A PPA and current skill sheet must be on file with STEMS. Agencies will not receive reimbursement of any kind. And then there's just the last one is where we put the date that they have to submit it to STIX by. And then that goes to, it goes to the county council for verification, and then the county, and they just like verify the information, and then SWREMS has final approval. So that's like the process.
Thank you for finding that and reading that in. Dan Imfeld, you had your hand raised. Was there another point?
No, I just think we should go ahead and vote.
All right, you were practicing early voting, I see.
Yes.
All right, there. The motion is before us with the attachment as requested. All those in favor, please signify. Very well. And any opposed, the same. Very well. The motion carries. Is there any other old business that we need to bring up? Any other old business? Hearing none, we will move on to new business. The only item that I have listed is membership, and I will turn the floor over to Dan Imfeld.
Okay, we have one resignation. That's from Brad P. I guess he's changing his focus on what he's going to do in medicine. He's going to be traveling and out of the area most of the time. So he wants to open the spot for somebody that can attend on a regular basis. So I guess I would move that we'd accept that resignation and that the chairman send him a letter of thanking him for his service.
I'll second the motion, Bill Johnston.
Very well. Moved and seconded, and I've noted sending a letter. All those in favor, please signify. Thank you. And opposed, the same. Thank you. We will send that letter out to him. Dan, back to you.
Okay, end of the year membership renewals. We have several people expiring at the end of the year. We will vote on them at the next meeting, but I wanted to give folks a heads up and also give the individual councils a heads up. So if there were county council recommended positions, that they need to get those done and back to us before the meeting. And I'll read them off. Jessica Gaines is a county recommended person from Cat County, along with Paul Weaver. Those two expire. From Allegheny. Allegheny, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Those two are from Allegheny, from Cattaraugus. These all three are at larges, so I will send them a email directly and ask them to reply back to me, but it would be Mickey Fornes, Terry Parr, and then Brad, which is the open position. So we already have Brad's answer. And then from Chautauqua County, myself is at large, and Bill Johnston, county council recommended. So those of you that are in counties that have county recommended people, please get those recommendations back to me and Tom before the meeting. And like I said, I will send out to the individuals that are at larges a email asking them what their wishes are. That's all I got.
Thank you, Dan. In times past, we have sent attendance records to the counties to help them make a better decision. I think we can arrange that through the office, through STEMS, or however we can accomplish that.
I can make sense to Dan.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any other new business?
Mr. Chairman, if if I can have a minute.
Yes, sir, you may.
Todd Reisner. I just kind of want to echo what the chairman led off with. Civility is important, especially in these times with delays at ERs. Respect breeds respect. Understand that that the world isn't revolving around you or your particular situation. Perspective means everything. And if we can demonstrate a measure of civility, it's my hope that those interacting with us will reflect that civility in kind. We all have a job to do, and we're all put under certain pressures, but working together makes the lift much easier. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, sir. Well stated. Any other new business?
I second Bill Johnston's motion to adjourn.
I did do that. I make a motion, we adjourn. Thank you, Doug.
That's fairly amazing. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
He's a mind reader.
Thank you all. You've ended at a very opportune time as we're now on a ground standby. I will remind you that December 3rd is the next scheduled meeting. Please, if you need to take care of membership, please, as Dan said, do that before that meeting. Thank you all. Be safe.
See you, Doug.